Welcome back. Thank you for joining us to learn about our business, and as we said in the video text, how to create a happy future for our children and for our children's children, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous. Okay, we operate from, you see there at the bottom, we're launching the website soon, ipln.net, Indigenous Peoples Learning Network. And this is, we had the global contract for developing all these sustainable villages and sustainable cities throughout the frontier and emerging markets for our vision here, for our children. So this is what we're doing, this is what we're focused on. Now, when you have a vision, the reason we are driven by the vision is because it keeps us right on track. The moment we go off track from the vision, everything falls in a heap. And just recently I went off track in looking at working with the New Zealand Maori people, and they're really lovely, got really good integrity and everything, but nothing worked, absolutely nothing worked. It didn't come to fruition because it did not align with our vision, because that would have been working with only Maori people, but this vision is multinational. It's for all children from all nationalities, from all around the world, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous, from all socio-economic groups, from the rich and the powerful to the poor and very destitute. As you can see here, this little one in the middle, she's the one we want to look after the most. So it's for the Indigenous peoples, and to bring this vision to fruition, we have to bring the Indigenous peoples' revolution to power, right? The Indigenous peoples' revolution. And we need to do that because we need the resources. We need resources security. We're going to be, when we're at peak production, we'll be rapidly mass producing thousands of sustainable villages for Indigenous peoples all around the world, so that they can repatriate their people back into the pristine wilderness areas on the lands that they own. And we will come in with our rapid building and construction technologies. We can deliver to site to their communities a shipping container, and two 16-year-old youths can unpack the container and build a beautiful upmarket home in 28 days, because we use panelized technology where the plumbing and the wiring is actually in the panels, manufactured in the factory, and then everything clips together. But it comes out very upmarket, beautiful homes. And we use a geopolymer. We do not use any cement, Portland cement, because that's 5% of the greenhouse gas emissions. So we build very fast, very quick, and then at the end of the build, our electricians and plumbers come in to fit all the renewables. So we're off the grid. We do not need any coal-fired electricity, gas or nuclear. So we are 100% off the grid, and we don't need them because we have the technologies now and the energy management systems to keep the energy consumption way down, and also this passive solar design housing that we use. So that's for the Indigenous peoples, being able to build very quickly on the sides of the rivers. So we don't use any automobiles anywhere. We use the rivers and we use the islands. So we can use high-speed catamarans to get into the islands, or up the rivers, and up the rivers you can use barges or whatever. So the transport system is transport orientated development. And you see, to attain this vision, we're not going to be able to do it in the developed world, because the developed world is going to implode on itself. If you have a look here, this here wonderful gentleman, I was at his seminar right back here in November. He's the world's #3 business guru, and he's the founder of Dent Research. He predicted every stock market crash in the last 30 years. His dad was the chief financial advisor to, I think it was one of the presidents, I think it was Nixon, so he was brought up around this sort of knowledge base. He went to university and became an economist, but he figured out how these bubbles work, and he therefore predicted all the crashes, and he's predicting now, and I was at his seminar, he's predicting now that at the end of this year is the big crash. This is the domino crash. And he said that the financial bubble is so big, it is much, much bigger than 1929. So there's going to be a 80% share market wipeout. If you've got $10 billion, you institutional investors, you're going to end up with $2 billion overnight, unless you have a critical survival plan and a wealth creation plan, because you can capitalize on a crash like this if you are simply doing what this gentleman does, advises. He's #1 business guru in the world, that's Martin Fridson. He is the chairman of Merrill Lynch Banking and Investment Division, Bank of America. He has an interest in what we're doing with our sustainable cities in paradise. He sent me an email asking me for an update. He asked me if I wanted funding. I said, no, I don't want your funding, and because we can generate our own funding, which I'm going to show you about in a minute. So his great achievements, he wrote this book here, which is called, I just picked it up, right? This is the book he wrote, How to Be a Billionaire, right? Proven strategies from the titans of wealth, and there's his name, Martin Fridson. Now, if you want to find out more and just get a summary on Martin, download this, right? How to Be a Billionaire from summaries.com, and you will be fascinated by what he talks about. Now, this is the thing, folks. Martin Fridson is the chairman of Merrill Lynch, right? Merrill Lynch built Wall Street. Wall Street is 1,000 times bigger than the Australian Stock Exchange. 1,000 times bigger. And these are the boys that built it, right? So he must know about building billion-dollar companies, forming coalitions, to, like with OPEC, to consolidate resources, dominate markets, to get to the front end of global paradigm shifts, launching of new products, business and industries, and how to consolidate industries, how to gain political influence. Martin is the man. You read his books, but just read that summary on this one here. You will be blown away finding out all the secrets that Bill Gates had, also Sir Richard Branson, Steve Jobs, Steven Spielberg, Walt Disney, right? All these billionaires, he's put all the secrets into that wonderful book. It's only about $14 on Amazon, so you know you need to have a look at that. And he tells you how to build businesses by simply solving people's problems and improving their quality of life and getting at the front end of these new revolutions coming out of what we call global paradigm shifts. Now this is #2 in the world, business guru, here he is. He's awesome. Now I've done the wealth profile that Roger Hamilton has for building corporations and championship teams, and he's #2 in the world. He's second to Martin, right? But what he does is the wealth profiling. I have exactly the same wealth profile as Sir Richard Branson, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Steven Spielberg, Walt Disney. I have the same wealth profile, and it's called the creator profile. We create new products, we create new businesses, and we create new industries, and we get them to market. But when it comes to running a business, we are useless. We are no good. So we have to bring in what Roger calls the deal makers to close the best deals for us, and then give them equity, and then also the mechanics who take our systems and streamline them, because we don't perfect them, we don't get them right because we're too far in the future. We're the futurists, the visionaries that bring the products to market, but we need to put the other people in to run it. And this is what Roger, he's the #1 guru on the planet for teaching all these and knowing your wealth profile, how to maximize your abilities to generate wealth and to hold on to it. Then that's the problem with us creators, is holding on to it. So he teaches us how to hold on it and how to do the right things. So he's #2 in the world. He's absolutely fantastic. He has a personal learning network with 850,000 followers, and they're all business entrepreneurs like myself. So follow him, because he's done, we'll give you a document called the 10 Trends that he brought out, and that 850,000 followers of his gave him all the secrets, because it's a personal learning network. And from there he reveals all the 10 next global revolutions or paradigm shifts, or what he calls trends. And he says the #1 trend in the future, and we knew this, is the green revolution. It's the development of sustainable villages, sustainable cities with less than 1% impact on the natural environment, and that's what we do. And that's a top secret project that we've been working on throughout the frontier and emerging markets. It's kept top secret because our competition are ruthless. These are the mining companies and also the petroleum companies, and they will kill our steering group. And I'm the only member that goes public, so they don't know who's on the steering group. And you see, because what we do is we transform these nations inside the frontier and emerging markets. You can check out the Jacinda video that I did for Jacinda Ardern, the New Zealand Prime Minister, and telling her what a shonky government she's got, and also what a shonky economy she's got as well, because it's just in a tragic state. The social problems she has in her nation, the poverty, extreme poverty, and also the a lack of housing. And once you've got housing shortages, you've got every other problem under the sun. They have the highest number of gangsters, patched up gangsters per head of population anywhere in the world. And when you've got that, you've got chaos. They've got more patched up gangsters than what they've got in the combined services of the Air Force, Navy, Army and Police. They have more patched up gangsters. So if they've got that many gangsters, how can you claim that you have a good economy? Because it is crime infested, it is drug and alcohol infested, the social breakdown of humanity is there in New Zealand. They have the highest violence record against females anywhere in the world. So I called her account on it. Check out those videos where I've called her to account, because see, what we specialise in is transforming what we call high consumption, fossil fuel and automobile based economies. We get rid of the automobiles, we get rid of the fossil fuels by building on the rivers, off the rivers, monorail systems, and on the islands, monorail systems with compact communities on the monorail system. So you got to get rid of the automobile industries, you've got to get rid of the fossil fuel industries, because next year is the 80% of the world's oil is coming out of Iraq anyway. But at the end of this year, according to this gentleman, Harry Dent, the end of this year, the crash of the global financial system, stock markets, 80% wipeout, share market wipeout. So if you've got 10 billion, you're going to end up with 2 billion overnight. He also points out that the price of oil is going to crash. It's going to go from $52 today down to $10 a barrel. At $10 a barrel, it means they're all going to crash. Or your petroleum company's going to crash. It means there's going to be no petroleum for your manufacturing industries, for your transportation industries, for your food production industries. It is absolute chaos. No one's prepared for it. The only possible solution is the rapid mass production of green infrastructure with zero emissions, right? And a zero dependence on fossil fuels or automobiles, because if there's no petroleum, there's no automobiles going to be used. And if you are lucky enough to have some petroleum for your automobile, it's going to be 5 to 10 times the cost of today's what you're paying today. So these three gentlemen are the people that you need to start listening to. You need to visit their websites. You need to read their books. You need to become informed, because there's three types of people in this world. The first type you have are the totally ignorant people. And in Japan, they have the tsunami warning device. When a tsunami occurs offshore, they pick it up, all the alarms go right along the coastline. Automatically, all the railway systems are shut down for when the earthquake extends and hits Japan. It doesn't warp the lines and derail the trains. So everything's shut down. When the people hear the warnings, the siren, they run to high ground. But the people who are ignorant will sit on the beach, keep drinking a beer, ignore the warning, and then they'll look at the water recede back into the ocean, and they'll go, oh my goodness, well, that water's disappeared. And then next thing the tsunami comes in and takes them out. And this is what's going to happen, because according to Harry Dent, who has predicted every recession, even in China and Japan, he is the man. Dent Research, you've got to check it, check his videos and ask us, and we can send you the links to special videos he has. Like I said, I was at his seminar in November, and then after the seminar, Harry actually told me a secret that he didn't tell anyone in the seminar, and that secret is not in any of his books, it's not in any of his videos. So I'm privileged to have that video because I'm a champion, and champions look after champions and tell each other their secrets, and that's what he did with me. There's a video that I've got on YouTube, you might want to check it out, is the review of the Harry Dent seminar. I did it straight after his seminar, and I linked it to our vision. All right, so you need a critical survival plan to survive this crash, right? You need to know what cryptocurrencies to put your money into, and do not put it in Bitcoin. You're going to lose out. So you got to get out of the cash system. If you've got money in a Rothschild central bank, you need to get it out, because the Rothschilds, out of desperation, are going to seize everybody's bank accounts. And if you don't believe me, wait and see, because we had a problem in the New Zealand military. We had an investment bank that all us in the military put our money in, and then it nearly went bankrupt. So what the government did to stop us pulling all our money out and the bank recovering, they actually seized our money in our banks, our bank accounts, so that we didn't pull our money out and the bank couldn't revive. Now that's going to happen at the end of this year. So if you've got money in a central bank or a bank owned by a central bank, like here in Australia, the four major banks, Commonwealth, Westpac, ANZ, right, and the other one, National Bank. Those banks are owned by the central banks, which are owned by the Rothschilds in the United States. They're called a Federal Reserve Bank here in Australia, but that's a lie, because it's not owned by the federal government. It is actually owned by the Rothschilds. So the Rothschilds in desperation are going to seize all your bank's assets, and then they're going to allocate you maybe $40 a day to survive. Otherwise, their banks are going to crash, right? So out of desperation, this is what they're going to do. It's going to send more people into poverty. You've got to get your money out of these central banks, okay? You need to start selling up now. Sell your assets. And Harry says, put lipstick on the pig and sell it, right? And then put your money into E-Trade. And when the system crashes, E-Trade's neutral, you won't lose your money. Look, how valuable is that, eh? That I just shared with you, that information. Now, you need to know, you need to develop a wealth creation plan to capitalise on this crash of the global monetary system. And that's where Roger comes in, because Roger knows the 10 trends, and if you can get involved in those 10 trends, or what we call revolutions or global paradigm shifts, and get to the front end of the wave, that Martin Fridson talks about, right? Which is what Steve Jobs did with the mobile phones and Apple. It's what Bill Gates did with the software. So these things they did, they got at the front of these rising global revolutions. Now, I've got a friend of mine, he is Australia's top IT expert. He put all the ISPs onto the optic fibre network, the NBN cable. No other ISP was hooked onto that unless Steve Brown did it. And Steve's my friend. Now, the interesting thing is, I lost my track there for a sec, sorry. Now, the interesting thing is what's going to be happening. And Steve, you see, Steve's younger than Bill Gates. So Steve came onto the scene, even though he was Australia's top IT expert, why he got the job. He's younger than Bill Gates. He's about 15, 20 years younger. So he didn't come in at the front end of the technology wave. He came in behind the wave. So it's like when you go surfing, if you catch the wave, you ride it. It's a free ride. If you miss the wave, you slide backwards and you don't make as much money as the one who got the free ride. And that's what Bill Gates did. That's what Steve Jobs did. Walt Disney did with movies and theme parks. It's, all these billionaires. Branson did it with Virgin Records, man. I thought that was fantastic what he did with Virgin Records. Good on you, Richard. And because the young people are being ripped off by the record companies, and they're still being ripped off today. So you need to learn from the number one business guru, Martin Fritzen. He is a legend. He's a magnificent person. And then you got over here Roger Hamilton. He'll tell you how to build a learning network, and the learning networks, he says, are going to supersede Facebook. So Facebook is going to disappear along with Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter are going to phase out. You need to read up this document we can send to you, or you can download it from our website. But just go to Wealth Dynamics and download it off his website, and follow Roger Hamilton if you want to know anything about business. He's the man, but he's the main man here, right? And as I said, just so that you know how good Martin is, there's a summary. Well, there's only a few pages that summarises the success of the titans of wealth, the billionaires, right? And then you really need to pay attention to Harry Dent, because Harry Dent studied all the recessions as well and what caused them. And Harry says that you can actually capitalise on the crash of the global monetary system if you know what companies to invest in. And the companies to invest in are the ones that are at the front end of the wave that Roger Hamilton talks about. There's 10 of them, right? And then all you need to do is what Martin Fritzen says, which is to simply solve people's problems and improve their quality of life. So what happens when Harry Dent says that the whole system's going to crash? You got $10 billion, next day you got $2 billion. How do you recover, all right? And he says that the petroleum industry is going to crash, and from $52 a barrel down to $10 a barrel, there is no possible way they can run an offshore rig at that sort of, there's no possible way they can make a profit at $10 a barrel. So then you kiss goodbye to all your manufacturing industries, your transport industries, your food production industries, anything dependent on oil. And that is a big chunk of the energy market. It's going to crash. They've already got a $3 trillion debt mountain, and they are going to crash really, really hard, really bad. And as Harry said, all the nations that are dependent on petroleum are going to be hit really, really hard. And that's why our focus is on the frontier and emerging markets, because they haven't got any infrastructure, hardly any infrastructure. The nation that we're dealing with, they've still got open sewers in their main city, but we don't build. But they've got big rivers that we can build off the sides of. They've got beautiful, pristine wilderness. Their nations throughout Africa are not like what happened in Asia, where there is so much pollution from building all those coal-fired power stations that it's unsafe to live over there, because your eyes sting and you die from pollution. The pollution is killing a lot of people in Asia, and that's the manufacturing hub of the world. It's going to crash, as a result of the petroleum crisis, right? They won't be able to manufacture the 6,000 products that are made from petroleum. If it's not there because the companies have crashed, you haven't got an industry, right? But the advantage of us working in nations like Africa, Africa has got the bulk of the world's last remaining resources. And the thing about Africa is the people are indigenous right through, whereas here in Australia, they're only about 4% of the population are indigenous. In New Zealand, I think it's about 12%. So that's minorities, but over in Africa, they're all indigenous. So you're dealing with indigenous people all the way through. We are going to bring the indigenous people's revolution to power through what we're doing. And that is by simply bringing the indigenous peoples all around the world in to follow our vision and to look after them. Now, to look after them, we're going to be looking after their children and building these beautiful sustainable villages, sustainable cities, so that we can repatriate their people back out of the horrible towns and cities where they've been badly treated, back into the pristine wilderness areas. And we just deliver to site a shipping container with all the panels in, and they clip them together. Two young 16-year-olds can clip them together, and then we send in the electricians and the plumbers to fit everything else later. We'll cover that another time. We'll show you the prototypes, but there's three key technologies needed for building these sustainable villages and sustainable cities, and the one is the rapid building and construction technologies, where we've gotten rid of all the trades except for the electrician and the plumber. All right, so these Maoris, where we were going off track, that I was dealing with them and everything fell in a heap, wanted to know how good, they didn't believe that the claims I made were true. So they asked me to hook up an appointment with our architect, our chief architect, and they had this building owner of a building company, a Maori, and he gave our architect a hard time. I told him to, and by the time he finished, he was totally convinced that we had the ability to rapidly mass produce sustainable villages, sustainable cities, high quality, very fast, because he's gotten rid of all the trades. We don't have any plasterers, we don't have any bricklayers, we don't have any ceiling fixers, tilers, painters. He got rid of a lot. No carpenters, because it's all geopolymer panels, beautiful finishes. All the wiring and the plumbing is put into the panels in the factory, so we can build very, very fast. So him and I have been working on a project to build a luxury resort for this project here, which is raising the money to build these projects throughout the frontier and emerging markets. Virtual reality music concerts, we're right at the leading edge. We've got an amphitheatre that is the shape of a guitar, produces this most amazing, majestic 3D surround sound. We're able to capture the sound in the into the headsets, and is way beyond the Bose sound. And then from there, we're able to, we're launching our first one. There'll be 100 million fans. We'll have provided them with all the technology packages and bulk buying with coalitions of our learning networks, our home-based personal learning network franchises that we're selling, right? And mainly for children and young people from this generation who are driving social media, right? So we will have 100 million fans watching the first one. We have provided them with all the technology packages, with the high-end headsets, with our majestic 3D surround sound, and you can't tell the difference about being there or not being there. So 100 million fans paying us $30 is $3 billion per concert in a 2-hour concert. So once the resort's built, we'll be running 6 concerts in a weekend, with all our fans going to all 6 concerts living in at the resort. And this is coming down on the Friday night at 7 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning on the Saturday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 7 p.m. in the evening, and then again on the Sunday. So except for the evening, no concert on the evening on the Sunday. So at $3 billion per concert, we're running 6 concerts in a weekend. 6 threes at $18 billion here in Western Australia. We have at least 30 weekends of fine weather, so we can run the 30 times $18 billion. That is more than enough to finance our projects. But we also, as we have providing our institutional investors who manufacture green technologies, will provide them with the opportunity to do what we call finance and technology transfer into the frontier and emerging markets from the wealthy nations. And we have what we call growth equity on the steroids. That's the multinational, quasi-independent supply chain, right? With cross holdings across the first tier and second tier supply chains, right up to the 6 world regional companies in charge of the 6 regions of the world as allocated by the United Nations. And only in the frontier and emerging markets. We don't build it in the developed world because all the cities and towns are going to have a major energy crisis when all the tracks are cut up around the world that carry coal on them by the indigenous underworld and some very hostile gangs and organisations that use the dark web. And the reason for that, why they're doing that, is what this wonderful person talks about, right? Agenda 21 exposed. You've got to check this out. In fact, I believe that you should check this one out before you check out Martin Fridson, Roger Hamilton, and Harry Dent, right? Because she is going to open your eyes, right? It's a 20-minute video. Put into the Google search engine her name, Rosa Kior, Agenda 21. Listen to the 20-minute video and she'll tell you about the threats to humanity, the truth about the United Nations, their goals and objectives, and that's what you want to put into the Google search engine. That's it there. Agenda 21 in Denmark, Europe and America, explained by Rosa Kior. Right, there it is there, can you see that? Right, type that in. Listen to her. She, as far as I'm concerned, listening to her is more important than listening or reading Martin Fridson's book, Roger Hamilton's, and Harry Dent. She is the one that you need to check out now. And this is why we are focused on the frontier and emerging markets, because only the frontier and emerging markets can provide the solutions to the threats that she is talking about with the United Nations. Listen folks, there's only 3 types of people in the world, right? 3 types of people in the world. And the first one is the ignorant one that I talked about before, that's going to sit on the down at the coastline when the tsunami warning is going, and when our wonderful friend here, Harry Dent, is saying there's a tsunami coming, 2019 crash, sell up your properties. That's the first thing he says. Put your money into E-Trade. There's a whole lot of other things that we advise to do. And then the wealth creation plan is to capitalise on it, because Harry Dent says you can capitalise on it, because throughout all the recessions, there were companies that grew. They grew from the recessions by doing what Martin says, which is to provide solutions to people's problems and improve their quality of life. Now, if Harry Dent says that 2 out of 3 people employed today all around the world are going to end up unemployed, can you capitalise on that? Well, you can. You can capitalise on that big time by simply bringing out products and services that Martin's talking about. Now, what Harry talks about is that 2 out of 3 people become unemployed. If you look at here in Australia, we've got 25 million people. If 6 million were employed, suddenly by the end of this year, 4 million, 2 out of 3 are unemployed. How does the 2 million generate enough revenue to cover the cost of the 4 million on the dole? That's never going to work. It's just not going to work. It can't be done. So, the other thing he points out is that if you now got 4 million people unemployed, how many of them own their own properties, have got a mortgage? If they're unemployed and there's no way they're going to get a job in a hurry, right, how do they pay the mortgage? Because the banks aren't friendly, they're going to kick them out. So you end up with all these homeless families. And then, not only that, all those who don't have a mortgage, right, but rent and have no savings, guess what's going to happen? They're going to be kicked out as well by the landlord. The landlord can't keep them. So you've got more homeless people. And see, this is the tsunami that's coming, that the ignorant people are just not taking the time to listen. They're sitting on the shoreline. They're going to see the tide go out when the system crashes, and boom, in comes the tsunami, and they are going to end up on the street going to food queues. And I'm talking about directors of major companies crashing. You know, their companies go down, they are not going to get another job in a hurry. So you can actually capitalise on this by providing solutions. So if you've got all these homeless people around the planet, what's the solution? Well, they've got to go through our training programs, right, and qualify to gain a lifetime cradle to grave and employment contract living in one of our sustainable villages or sustainable cities. So how do you do that? All right, how you do that is you come to our website, which is the Indigenous Peoples Learning Network website. That's that one there, right? When it goes live, we're not going to launch it yet. So when you come to it, the first thing you're going to see, right, or how it operates, is this 3-lane economy. So we have the fast lane where you come into the website. You'll be able to download all these videos that you're watching here, business videos, and also our main videos for the children and young people. And so that's the fast lane. And in the fast lane, that's not very clear, you'll get quality content where we'll put Martin's videos up, Roger's videos, Harry Dent's videos, Rosa Keogh's videos, and our videos, right? Quality content, it's all free. So lots and lots of people come because it's free. The other thing is we're able to get the digital technologies for our concerts for 100 million of our fans. We can bulk buy through our personal learning networks that we franchise, home-based franchises, and we build the learning network for our franchisees through piggybacking off all the superstars that we work with. And we'll teach that in another video. So it's all digitalised and it's all automated. They can download, they can go to YouTube, and you just link all the entertainment and educational videos are free, but there's no communication with us. We don't want any communication. So what happens, that's what we call the fast lane, and this is what Roger talks about. It's called the 3-lane economy. This 3-lane economy is going to wipe out Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Twitter, all those big tech companies are going to go broke, especially if they are dependent on the stock markets, and the stock markets crash. You know, like Facebook is dependent on the stock markets. So all those corporations that are on the stock markets, they're going to crash and burn. But the problem is that people are sick of the information being stolen, used, and all the wrongdoings in social media. But when they go to the learning networks like Rogers, there are no adverts on Rogers' personal learning network. There's none. And people go to Rogers' learning network because it's about business. And you learn about business, all the secrets to business. And there's no video, there's no stealing of your information that you get from Facebook. There's no web crawlers. There is no, all the, we call them the corporate predators targeting your children, trying to sell them products and things. You don't get these with the learning networks because everyone has a shared purpose. All right. In the Rogers case, it's about business. If you go to Marrakech, it's about the environment, right? So there's all these different, they're called influencers, right? Influencers. So that's the fast lane. You come in on the fast lane, we don't communicate with you. You can download all our information, we give it away for free, it's digitised and automated. I mean, what was that information I told you about Harry Dentworth, right? About that bank, E-Trade. So put your money in there, get your money out of the central banks, folks. You know, you're better off putting it under your pillow than leaving it at the bank to get it and seize it, because they did it to our investment bank when I was in the Royal New Zealand Air Force, and all the military had our money in it. So to save the bank from crashing, they seized our darn money. We couldn't get our money out of that bank. And then the bank started making a profit, and they changed the corporate team, got the bank back on its feet, and then we finally got our money back a couple of years damn well later. And this is what's going to happen, folks. And they're going to drip feed you money, because that's part of the big plan linked to what Rosa talks about. All right? So you need, folks, to start learning. Join our learning network. Subscribe to our website when it goes live. We'll teach you all these secrets up here in the fast lane. And if you go through the fast lane into the next lane, which is the middle lane, it's like a freeway. You got the fast lane, everyone's travel fast, they've got time to have a look at things, not looking to the side. It's full speed ahead, man. And then you go into the middle lane, which is a bit slower. But in the middle lane, what's going to happen when you go to the middle lane, you'll participate, you'll subscribe first. No, that's not very clear. Subscribe to our online community. Then you'll participate in webinars, and then you can do the Happy Training Curriculum if you want to get to live in one of our sustainable villages and sustainable cities. You see, because my company down here, this one here, right, Advanced Human Development Technologies Corporation here in Western Australia, and we're trading as the Indigenous Peoples Learning Network, the website, which we're not putting online yet. That website was built in India. It's been under construction for 2 years. They're just doing the final construction of it. Oh, actually, it's been all construction, but I gave them instructions on to close down some of the tabs, and then I don't think I did, but we're still change a few things around. But that's got a massive back end on it. It's taken so long to make. We built our first virtual reality website back just before the Trade Towers was bombed, and it was done by Dax Stanley. Dax Stanley, by the way, is the General Manager for Australia for Salesforce. So you can check it out with Dax. He was working for me at the time. He's staying in one of my Art Deco apartments. I had 3 of them in one of the wealthy suburbs, and he built our website for us. It was so big, the back end was so big, we took it to Perth IX and asked them to host it, and their chief engineer said, "I'm sorry, but your website's too big. We can't host it. We're the biggest ISP in Western Australia." So yeah, that was really good, wasn't it? So that's how far advanced we were on everything, and Dax was involved in the development of the leading edge virtual reality technologies that we're going to be using. So that's 18 years ago, right? That we were onto this. So this website that we've got is huge. It's designed to take out Facebook Instagram, Twitter, the whole lot. Because there's also a translation website. We're based on jw.org, check that one out. That's a translation website. It's the most advanced website on the planet. If you speak Spanish, the landing page changes to Spanish, and you select what language you want. There's 940 different languages you can choose from. You choose the language, the landing page changes to your language if it's Spanish, and then everything on that website changes to your language. That's all the Bibles, the books, or the different types of Bibles too that you can download in your language. And then there's all the videos in your language, there's all the podcasts, there's all the music, it's in your language. Everything is in your language. So that's in Spanish. If you are Mandarin, the whole website changes to Mandarin, including the Bibles, the books, brochures, podcast videos. It's all in your Mandarin language. That is what we call a translation website, right? And this is way beyond what's that company that brought out the translation technologies. I reckon they're rubbish compared to having proper translators, because of the phonics and the way they say things in different ways or different languages. So what we're doing to bring the Indigenous Peoples Revolution to power is we're recruiting 6,000 translators to translate everything in real time. So as I'm talking today, we would have the 6,000 translators translating into their different languages, just like the jw.org website. These will be translating live as I'm speaking. It'll be in every language, 2,000 different languages. Now, the thing is that in English, our products, entertainment and educational digitalised products, are actually in English. So we can only get to 11% of the global population. And if you want that facts, download Roger's information on the 10 trends, and it's all in there, the facts, that we can only get to 11% of the global population. So by having this translation website, which will convert into 2,000 different languages, not 940 like jw.org, but 2,000 different languages in real time as well as all our digitised and entertainment and educational product lines will also be in the 2,000 different languages. That's why it's taken so long to build this website. It is humongous. We're going to take out Facebook, we're going to take out Twitter, Instagram, the whole darn lot, because they cannot translate into 2,000 different languages, can they, today? So, and in real time, like our translators are operating home-based business franchises, and we'll provide them with the technology packages, the training and everything we will provide. And among those translators, there are also the professional speakers that will translate anything that needs professional speaking into their languages. And there's also, there's a network, by the way, around the world that we're going to be talking to about bringing in their translators. They've already got the translators, but we'll provide them with these franchises. Do a joint venture project. Also, there'll be a network of journalists. So these journalists will upload in real time events happening all around the world. What happened when Hurricane Irma had the biggest hits, right, last year when she struck? She was what we call a super hurricane. As a result of Irma, they're increasing the intensity of hurricanes from category 5 to category 8. They're different, they are more extreme, they're more powerful, they're more dangerous. So what the Rothschilds media did was they focused on Hurricane Irma, and Hurricane Irma had the biggest hits on social media and mass media. On social media, had the biggest hits on Google. Now, the reason for that was they put the focus onto Hurricane Irma so that no one saw the other 5 hurricanes that hit that coastline, like in Houston. But we've got a hurricane video with the other ones in there, and we will show you that there were another 5 hit that coastline at the same time. And the storm surge that hit Houston, and the people who live in Houston know this happened at the same time. So the focus was on Hurricane Irma to take everybody's focus on the other 5 hurricanes that struck that coastline with the storm surges and things. Otherwise, everybody would be going, oh, this climate change is a real problem. They got hit by 6 hurricanes in the 35 days surrounding Hurricane Irma. All right, so they manipulated the media so to take the distraction of the fact that all these hurricanes were happening at the same time in America. Folks, you need to move out of America. At the moment, all the major corporations that follow Harry Dent are moving out of America, right? And I've got articles from the New Zealand media where the American big tech companies are trying to move into New Zealand to buy our land and properties, and our government is trying to get stuffed. So now they're all coming here to Australia and buying up and getting the heck out of America, because Harry Dent says there's going to be a civil war in America because they're not going to handle the cost of petroleum as it skyrockets, the cost of food as it skyrockets. They're not going to be able to drive their vehicles, get to work and everything. The whole American economy is going to implode. Harry Dent's already moved out. He lives in Puerto Rico and with his family, and he's moved his assets out as well. Now all the big tech companies are moving out because we all follow Harry Dent. We know Harry's very clever and how he does it, and he's accurate as. So they're moving out of America. The Rothschilds have moved. Their $500 trillion is not in America anymore. It's not in Wall Street. It's actually in East Asia. So, and by the way, the Rothschilds' focus now is not on the energy markets. It's not on international banking and commerce. Or the other industries they own. Their focus now is on social capital, the development of social capital, and the only way to build social capital, believe it or not folks, is here. It's in training, developing and refining the 6 to 16 year olds and providing them with all the education so that they can qualify to live in our sustainable villages, sustainable cities. And if you live in one of these precincts, it's a cradle to grave employment and habitation contract. So when you reach 65, we don't kick you out. It's based on the old Maori society and the way the New Zealand Air Force operated. Very, very efficient. So there is no such thing as retirement. You stay there till your day you die. Everything's free, food's free, accommodation's free, because these are corporate owned and operated precincts. Right, we own it lock, stock and barrel because we can, because over here we're running these virtual reality music concerts at $3 billion for 2-hour concert, 6 concerts in a weekend, $18 billion. We can cover the cost, no sweat. If we own the precincts outright, we've got resources, security throughout the frontier and emerging markets, because we've provided so many sweeteners to entice the indigenous peoples with the vital resources to join Piranha. I'll talk about Piranha later. Piranha is the new version of OPEC. OPEC consolidated oil in the Middle East with the 14 nations, but Piranha is consolidating everything that the indigenous peoples have, from forestry to food to fisheries to resources from gold, oil, gas, coal. They won't be doing coal because the railway lines have been cut up. But they won't, they've got all the most valuable resources, and through Piranha, they join Piranha. Piranha will fix the prices, up the prices, and have global hegemony of vital resources all around the world as the indigenous people's revolution rises to power. And when they've got global hegemony of vital resources, they can slam a global vital resources trade embargo on the United States of America to force the American people, to force the government to shut down all those 800 military bases they have all around the world. Now, Trump, on the website for the American government, he has announced under the what's it called, the critical minerals directory. If you have a look at that on their website, he says there's 35 critical minerals required for the manufacturing industries in America. They're critical, and if they have what we call resources spikes, then it impacts on all their manufacturing. In last year in Japan, they had a resources spike. They didn't have enough iron ore coming in, and therefore they didn't have any steel. So there was no steel for any of the industries, such as Toyota's assembly lines. There was no steel for their car bodies and their engines and all, you know, the wheels and everything else that are made from steel. So Toyota had to shut down those assembly lines. You know, you've got thousands of people on the assembly line. You can't fire them. You've got to keep paying them so you can reboot the assembly lines. They lost billions and billions of dollars, and all the time the resources spike was in. So when you've got 35 critical minerals, and as Mr. Trump says, 33 of them are imported. And that's why you've got these aggressive campaigns happening around the planet, where the Americans are trying to secure these vital resources, the 35 vital resources. But you see, Piranha is coming in and saying, no, join Piranha, we'll fix the prices, up the prices, and create global hegemony, and then we'll slam a trade embargo. We only need 10 of those vital resources that Trump needs, and then down goes the American economy. But you do that, you strike America after Harry Dent says that the global monetary system's going to crash in November. So you don't strike them at the same time. You wait till Wall Street hits ground zero, and Wall Street's got no money because the Rothschilds moved out anyway, or the big tech companies moving out of America, because it's too damn dangerous. They say, Harry says, there's going to be civil war. Of course there's going to be civil war. And those Americans are crazy at the best of the time shooting each other. But when you've got a civil war is worse than a real war between nations. Because between nations, they're wearing uniforms. A civil war, they're not necessarily wearing uniforms. And you don't know who the heck you're shooting. So America's going to implode. It's going to become a very, very dangerous nation to live in. And the difference is between an impoverished nation within the frontier and emerging markets. One is they're not really dependent on oil and gas because they haven't got any infrastructure. The other thing is in Africa, they haven't got the pollution that they got in Asia. And the labour is cheaper because what happened in Asia was the middle class increased, right? So you now got 36 million millionaires, and this is why the Rothschilds also crashed. The crashing the global monetary system is to widen the gap between the rich and the poor, to bankrupt all these 36 million millionaires. They don't like the thought of that many people with that much wealth, so they're crashing the system. So it's very interesting, but it's all polluted up there in Asia, but it's not polluted down in Africa because they haven't moved into Africa. It's been too darn dangerous, but things are changing in Africa. And by us coming in with our indigenous peoples, learning network to educate their children and life skills education, right, we're going to provide them one of the most wonderful entertainment as our virtual reality music superstars. I won't go into it. You can watch one of our other videos. We're the new breed of virtual reality music superstars, the clean, happy hip-hop reality show. It's clean hip-hop. There's no swearing, no gangster rap, no running down any other nation or people or religions or whatever. It's happy. It's a clean, happy hip-hop specifically developed for children and young people, right? And then we have the virtual reality music concerts as well, the big money areas there. Now, what Roger says over here, he says that the learning networks like his are going to supersede Facebook and all the big technology companies driving social media. Right, and he's right, and it's going to happen because people are sick of having their information stolen. Now, I'm going to step back here. See this wall? It's a green wall. Right, guess who painted it? Right? Yeah, people have a shot at me about who painted it. The person who painted this green wall was the creator of the dark web, right? She painted this wall for me because she's my friend. She's been my friend for quite a while, and I didn't actually know. I knew her for 10 years before she told me that she was the creator of the dark web, because she's a very secretive person, because that's an invisible and indestructible dark network. And I co-created the world's first invisible and indestructible dark network criminal organisation in New Zealand. So anyway, but I don't have a criminal record except for heaps of fines. But I don't have any criminal records for anything bad, it's just stupid fines, because I've got a heavy foot. So I get involved in crime or anything. And when she created the dark web, she created it because she's from the era of Edward Snowden. She did not like what was happening in the what we call the surface web, and also in the deep web, with all these big IT companies are in there, ripping people off, stealing our information, all that. So she created the dark web as a safe web. But then what happened was all the gangs got in there, the underworld, the terrorists, the paedophiles, and because they couldn't be caught. And you see, it's never been hacked. It's never been hacked. So I asked her, can you develop us a parallel web based along the lines of Hyperborea as our own web for our children, right? So that no one can get in there unless they got the password. And on the Hyperborea system, it's done by referral only. So you have 3 young people come in, they invite their 3 best friends, and don't bring any real nasty or bad people in because they get demerit points. And then they bring in 3 friends. It builds slower, but it's secure. Therefore, the paedophiles can't get in, the creepy web crawlers can't get in, the corporate predators trying to sell McDonald's rotten burgers or anything else, selling them clothing or whatever, they can't get in because she created it, and that's what she's doing now. So I said to her, look, I've got to send a document to the Saudi prince for the oil majors to pull the oil majors in behind us, the ones opposed to Trump, and we'll eliminate their dependence on oil revenue, because by November they're going to have no revenue. So by providing them with what we call growth equity in our network of sustainable villages, sustainable cities, they can get a massive return on investment in the long term. And then if they invest in our green infrastructure investment bank, which is all cryptocurrency based, then when the system crashes, the value of the cryptos skyrocket. Right, so these sort of things that we're providing for Russia, Iran, Iraq, Venezuela. So they've got we eliminate their reliance on petroleum so they don't go bankrupt. And as Harry Dent says, you need a critical survival plan. This is the critical survival plan we're providing them with. And then also a wealth creation plan, which is the providing with growth equity in our multinational quasi-independent organisation, manufacturing all our environmentally friendly products and services and delivering them to our construction sites just on time, because we use Japanese lean production systems. So any investment in the first tier or second tier supply chains, you automatically get dividends from right across the first tier and second tier supply chain from all the cross holdings. So you invest in one, you're getting dividends from all the others, and up to the second tier, first tier, second tier, and the 6 world regional companies up to the parent company. So there's cross holdings right across a lot. So we duplicated it off the Toyota system. Right, Toyota are the smartest, I'm telling you, and you need to read the book called The Machine That Changed the World. It was brought out by MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. It was $5 million worth of research about Toyota. It explains all these things I'm talking about, the rapid mass production systems, and we've duplicated all those systems. And because I'm an engineer by profession, an aeronautical engineer, and I'm also qualified, I was in the Royal New Zealand Air Force for 10 years, I'm also a qualified automotive engineer. So I re-engineered everything off the Toyota system because I knew automobiles, I knew all about it. So that was easy to do so that we could rapidly mass produce all our sustainable villages in the thousands and sustainable cities in the hundreds off the sides of the rivers and on these islands. So that's where we're coming from. We know what we're doing. As I say, the funding is coming from here. Right, and in our next video I'll tell you how we're setting up young children here. Young children, and we're going to give them these franchises, what we call our home-based personal learning network, which is what Roger has with his 850,000 personal learning networks, right? What we're building for them as a franchise. So we will provide them with the fan base from running these, our virtual reality music superstars. We're piggybacking off the famous people and developing a happy hip hop reality show, our clean happy hip hop music and dance culture, and our virtual reality music concerts. Now, you might say, well, why are you getting involved in hip hop? That's a bad music genre. Hey, look, hip hop isn't bad. Hip hop was developed in Jamaica by the Jamaicans, and it was a clean hip hop. It was just a stepping stone from reggae to the spoken word of rap. So the scratching or the breakdancing, all those things, and the rap music was first written by U-Roy in 1967. The hip hop didn't hit the mainstream in America till 5 years later in 72. And then they bastardized it. The Americans stole it, they bastardized it, they put in the gangster rap, the swearing, the foul language, the disgusting lyrics, immoral lyrics, and the nasty stuff came into it. And it wasn't designed that way. It was a clean hip hop. And us Maoris, we do the same. We don't get into the battles or the gangster stuff. We start off singing in R&B, then we swing into the freestyle, and then from the freestyle we swing into the beatboxing, and from the beatboxing into reggae, and then back again. And none of the other rappers can do this because they can rap but they can't sing, right? So, but us Maoris, we can sing, we do a whole lot, man, including the breakdancing and everything. So what's going to happen, hip hop is the number one music genre on the planet. If you want to get to the young people, is get into hip hop, which is clean and made specifically for these ones to embrace. So they've already embraced our music culture before they turn 16. They don't look at anything else. And as it is, Spotify, in 2017, Spotify said that 7 out of the 10 most listened to albums were hip hop. That's 70%, folks. Of all the young people listening to music on Spotify, the biggest music platform, were listening to hip hop, which is all the gangster rubbish in a lot of cases. But it is a better culture if you take the good parts of it. So at the moment it's now 83%. They're not listening to anything else. I met a young man, he's wearing his hat backwards. He was from India, and I said to him, are you into hip hop, bro? He said, yes, I am. Yes, I listen to hip hop in 4 languages in India. This is how popular it is. I talk to Japanese, I talk to Indonesians, I talk to all the different races, and they all have hip hop, right? Because there's good components to it, and we've taken the good components to create this wonderful new culture. And it's not a byproduct of the hip hop. Ours is a civilization. It's a new civilization. This is the music that we'll be introducing into our sustainable cities, because 80% of the inhabitants must be aged 6 to 16. The other 20% are the siblings, parents, grandparents, single individuals that get through our training programs, the happy training curriculum, and also the married couples without children. So they get to live in these wonderful, beautiful pristine wilderness areas throughout the frontier and emerging markets like Africa. There's no pollution there because it's not a manufacturing hub. They haven't got all the coal-fired power stations. Man, this is the best place to build. And then throughout Indonesia, Philippines, on the islands, Philippines has got 7,500 islands, and the Indonesia's got about 6,000 islands. So the islands are there. We use the Russian satellite technologies with the nuclear photography that goes straight through the ground to find us the water. The islands that have got water underneath them, because you need water security. And they've got Philippines is awesome because they've got nutrient-rich soils, so we don't need to put the permaculture in over there. So and the organic gardening or even reticulation, because you just pop the seed in the ground and it grows. So these sort of things. Otherwise, in other nations, we have to use all the permaculture principles and things, and aquaculture and all that. But we still need to use aquaculture because the oceans are polluted and the fish aren't good. So that's where we're going. But going back to what I was saying, this is the generation that is driving social media, right? A survey done in the UK, right, a few months ago, found that 53% of the 6 to 16-year-olds in schools were checking their social media, right, 10 times during the night when they should have been sleeping. Naughty little tibbies. They were checking it because the difference, I'm a baby boomer generation, and our friends were around the neighbourhood or the town, right, and we only saw them when we were awake. But today, this digital generation, 6 to 16-year-olds, this is what we call them, by the way, digital generation, because they're driven by digital technology. They are driving social media. They wake up, 53% of them wake up 10 times a night to check their social media because all their friends are all around the world, 24-hour time. Right, and they suffer from a mental disorder called FOMO, F-O-M-O, which means fear of missing out. So they are driving social media when the little soul should be having a sleep. They're on social media, checking what's going on around the planet with all their friends. And see, with them, this wonderful generation, the most important thing in their lives is their friends. When their friendships fall in a heap, their whole lives fall in a heap. Their friendships with their friends are more important than the family. And in a lot of cases, they kind of disown the family when they see them in public and their friends are around. And my daughters did to me. So that's how it works. They're driving social media. Right, but then if Roger Hamilton over here says Facebook's going under, it's going to crash, when Harry Dan says, yeah, the market's going under, and Facebook is dependent on revenue from advertising. But when everybody jumps into these learning networks like ours for the Indigenous peoples and Roger's for business, what happens here is no advertising thing. So everyone sticks with us, and if you can put good entertainment that everyone wants, entertainment and educational product lines like life skills education, or any, from university education to secondary education to primary education to pre-primary, and you can put it in their languages, in 2,000 different languages, you've got a winner. Absolute winner, right? And this is what we're doing. We're enabling the Indigenous people's revolution to rise to power. Now, coming back over here, when we launch our first virtual reality music concert, we're inviting Stevie Wonder, George Benson, and Alicia Keys. And if we invite those three to launch our first one with our majestic surround sound into the headsets, we will get easily 100 million fans paying us $30 each. That's $3 billion for that first concert, right? And we'll be supplying all the manufacturer direct technology packages, right? I won't go into that, that's in another video. So that's what we're doing, and the number one music genre on the planet is hip hop, but we created a new hip hop, which is not a subculture of hip hop. It's actually a new civilization developed for implementation into the sustainable villages, sustainable cities for this young generation to implement. We're teaching them how to freestyle rap, how to do the hip hop dancing, how to break dance, all the different facets of the hip hop culture. And by the way, if you do some research online and put in the words hip hop and healing, you'll find that it is a healing culture. You don't need psychologists anymore. You just need to teach these young people how to freestyle and get their feelings out as they're freestyling, right? And when they get their feelings out, they're okay, and it's done in a safe environment with their friends. So we teach them how to freestyle. Now, this is the generation that's driving social media. What's really interesting, have a check of this. Right, this here is the influencer market. This came out last week, right? 11 to 16 year olds, so these are the adolescents, their career aspirations, right? Here are the results of a survey in the UK where young people were asked, when I grow up, I want to be A, 18% a doctor, social media influencer, 17%, a YouTuber, 14%, so 17 and 14, that folks is 31%, isn't it? That's 1 in 3 of this wonderful generation wants to be an influencer. They want to influence their friends, and we've got the very best happy training curriculum to help them to discover their pathway to happiness and to future employment. And through our corporations coming in behind us and the rapid mass production of the sustainable village, sustainable cities, we can get them employment, right? So coming over here, as you go back to there, this is what they want. They want to be influencers. So we just need to teach them the life skills education, provide a whole lot of them that really outstanding, got good hearts and are decent. We'll provide them with the funding for a $50,000 home-based personal learning network franchise, and that'll be funded by our major corporations coming in behind us. They'll pay the $50,000. We train them, put them through our training programs, like this one, the Happy Training Curriculum, and also this one here. All right, this one here we'll put them through is that's a certificate. Isn't that lovely certificate? This is Alex, and that's a championship team building and time management program that we had for him, and you know, he's a skilled participant, and he came out really dynamic, right? And this is an example. We signed it, and as it says there, what does that say? A dynamic vision, strong leadership, loyal team players, fun, trust and synergy, the heart of a championship team. And this is what we created. I covered over the that area there, which has got the logo and the name of the organisation that we developed this with. So it's an 8-week training program. That's graduation certificate 1. This one here is graduation certificate 2. All right, so as you see there, you can check this out another time. There's his the program contents, leadership, what we marked him on, and team skills, also planning and organisation skills. Over here, self-actualisation, knowing where he's going in life. So the percentages, they're down there, right? That our coaches evaluated them on. So any of our corporations that are looking for employees, corporations that are linked to us, we say that, look, this young person came in through the fast lane, they went through the middle lane, participated in the webinars, in this middle lane they did the happy training curriculum, they graduated, qualified for a lifetime cradle to grave and employment contract, living in any of our sustainable cities, sustainable villages, or building and constructing them. And then they got into the slow lane. In the slow lane, right, they're graduates now, we align their goals, we recruit and we train them, right, to live in these beautiful, wonderful precincts. Now you'll notice in everything that we do is different. The way we construct our sustainable villages, sustainable cities without any automobile infrastructure, without any, with zero emissions, right? Zero crime. We can get to zero crime because of our number one technology, which is the leg break technology I cover another time. And number two technology is the happy training curriculum that they discover their pathway to happiness. It's got 4 sections to it, components to it, and then they end up also with a beautiful certificate like this, right, that they can put on the wall and feel really proud of their achievement. And we measure their progress and everything with the coaches look after them once they get into the slow lane. They came in from the fast lane, free content, middle lane, did participate in the webinars, and then coming into the slow lane, we'll look after them. So everything we do is different. And coming down here, I didn't have time to put this into a mind map. I've got Mind Map Maestro, but I didn't have time. So we're telling our story, who we are, what we do. That's me, Hemi Newman, and I'm also, you'll find out about me anyway. So hooked to us, the celebrity networks coming in behind us. Right, and then the music superstar networks. We had a music superstar here just the other day. The world's first music superstar in the world in Great Britain was here, Hank Marvin. Over here, that's our corporation. We're telling our story. Over here is the IT networks coming in behind us. Mate, these guys are so clever, including Steve Brown. And then all the universities, the indigenous universities. But these universities are not your normal universities. These, or the ones we're building, are being built or operating out of the top of skyscrapers, and they're corporate-owned universities, and we're live streaming in virtual reality all that they do in universities. So they can only get 450 people into a lecture room. Mate, we can talk to 100 million young people at the same time and pay our lecturers $100,000 for that one lecture for 1 hour, because we've got so many online paying us $10 each. And there's the Indigenous Peoples Learning Networks coming in another section behind us. Over here, the support networks is the one we're focused on at the moment, bringing in the support networks of young people. Our talent scouts will be going to New Zealand to find these rappers, young ones. And then over here, the digital generation. That's our wonderful digital generation there, okay. So they'll be coming in there through the schools, and we'll be providing the schools with the technology packages at $6,000 worth of technology packages, and enabling the children to do all the hip-hop dancing and everything else. And it's all clean, happy hip-hop. So then we've got all the business networks, right, from Silicon Valley with the virtual reality, and then the computer manufacturers, E-Trade, the bank, mining giants, supermarket giants, accounting giants like Ernst & Young I'm looking at, because I like Ernst & Young, they're pretty good. Over here we have the other organisations as well, okay. So those business networks will come in to support these young ones that we're bringing in here from school. Now, we've got one young, lovely Aboriginal girl, she's 13, and we're giving her one of these home-based personal learning networks, and we're going to build a massive following behind her, as all these young Indigenous people around the world are going to follow her story, and they're just going to love her because she's so lovely, and we'll be marketing products for her on her behalf and making her a lot of money. She'll get $300,000 a year maximum. Anything over $300,000 goes to charity. It's our children's charity, helping children in crisis all around the world. So she'll have $300,000. She's under the age of 16. She can't be taxed. And at the end of the day, we can give her cryptos anyway and give her a digital wallet. So transactions are done in the virtual world using virtual money. There's nothing government can do. So we're going to set her up, and won't it be lovely for a young Aboriginal girl, 13 years of age, to have $300,000 a year, and she can give it to her at least. So that's what we're doing, and then what we do, the franchise is $50,000. So we're inviting the big supermarket companies to fund her, and with the $50,000, and when her money comes in, we'll repay the big company that funds her, and the $50,000, so they get their money back. But we also soften the face of their corporation by putting our beautiful young people there, on the wall on our website and everything, supporting that particular supermarket chain. And one of our champions said to me to deal with Coles, because Coles is West Australian based. So I went into Wesfarmers and they've given me the contact for Coles. I've been talking to them. IGA have not been very nice, so we'll give them a flick. And then Aldi is from overseas, very aggressive. So we've got to look after our own, which is Coles. We'll see how they go. Well, but I'm playing the whole lot against each other, Woolworths and all them as well. So we're here, not for us, we're here for our digital generation. So I hope this has given you a good insight into what we do, and then you can look at the other different parts of our business. If you're institutional investors, you can have a look at what I talked about on the video text in the frontier and emerging markets. You need to think about moving out of the developed world because they're fossil fuel and automobile dependent. If there are no fossil fuels, according to Harry Dent, the whole system's going down from $10 a barrel. There are no profits. They have to crash, right? Roger Hamilton will tell you about the trends. He tells you about the fast lane, middle lane, and the slow lane to bring the people in the right way and the right timing, right? So that's Roger. But here's the main man. And he says to solve people's problems and improve their quality of life. Now, if people are unemployed, if the children are hungry, if the children are cold, but our charity gives them the clothing and the food for free and everything else, and we're doing that for the Indigenous children. Our happy training curriculum is what we call the gateway training program that gets us into the homes of the wealthy and the rich and the powerful, and we work with their children. We make them happy. We get their starting point. We help them to find their major goal in life. We do a 10-point plan with them when they find it, and then from there we do what we call a fast track to find out all their goals in the 9 different areas of life and the most important goals. The 3 most important goals, that's 27 goals, and then the 3 most important goals out of those 27, which are the ones they should focus on. But I'll go into that another time. So with that, and as a result, they will get a lovely certificate like this, right? And it opens the way for them, right, to get employment with any of these corporations here that are going to be backing us. Will be happy to employ these children because they've been trained by us, right? And we have the best training programs on the planet. So, because why? We think outside the box. We do things different. Who else is building universities and skyscrapers and live streaming and virtual reality all around the world? And who else can get 100 million fans by bringing in Alicia Keys, Stevie Wonder, and George Benson? George Benson, by the way, gave me permission to use his song Greatest Love of All, which is about children, to put it at the front of our children's podcast, and it is a lovely day. So we can get George Benson to come to that first concert. Also, if you have a look here in this place here, Stevie Wonder's brother-in-law, before I converted into business, there was a sofa here, and Stevie Wonder's brother-in-law, his name's Mahir, was homeless, and he couldn't get the dole even. And I said, I'll just crash here on my couch that used to be here. So, and while he was staying here, Stevie Wonder's son came to visit him. This is his uncle, his mum's sister, his mum's brother, Mahir, was staying here. And so he came, I got to know him. I taught him how to do the hongi the right way. He was blown away. So we got access to Stevie Wonder, right? So Stevie Wonder, George Benson, Alicia Keys, we've got networks to get to Alicia as well. So if we bring them in, run those concerts, 100 million fans, we'll supply the technology packages I'll talk about another time. And if you are any You've got to remember who's driving social media. It's the digital generation, and 30% of them, 1 in 3, wants to be an influencer. The way to be an influencer is to work with us, right? And follow us on the reality show. We're live streaming. Enjoy our culture. Help us to develop this through the webinars and things. Come along to the virtuality, but that's in another video. Come in through the fast lane, the middle lane, and the slow lane. And for you business people who want to know how to succeed in the future, you really need to learn from Martin Fritzen. As I say, you don't have to read the book. Just download this, right? Summaries.com, internet delivered business book summaries. How to be a Billionaire by Martin Fritzen. Read that, it's a summary of it, and then get the book. And you need to go to Roger Hamilton's website, get your own wealth profile done. It's only $97, and mate, you'll learn so much about yourself and how to create wealth and keep it. And then Harry Dent, you need to know about a critical survival plan and a wealth creation plan, right? Because you can capitalize on this crash that is coming. So there we are, folks. It's thank you very much for following us. You can follow us once the website goes live. We're bringing in the marketing experts to take everything and put the content creation onto the website, change everything based on what we're doing here. So that's where we are. 1 hour 30 seconds. Thank you very much for your time. Come to our website, check it out, talk to the people who put you onto us, and follow us. For you big players from Coles and IGA, Aldi and Woolworths, you need to pay attention, because one of you is going to get our contract. If you want to support our young people, like this young Aboriginal girl who's only 13 and funder, and these other ones, I've got 10 other ones that need funding as well, but you'll get your 50,000 back right after you work with us, and we'll plug your supermarket chain and we'll increase your bottom line profits, because everybody will come to your supermarket in preference to the others, because our money that we make goes to charity, and you'll hear about it. And you know, people would rather go and spend their money at a supermarket that they know looks after the children in crisis. This is how it works, folks. So look, thank you very much for your time. Follow us, as I say, on social media when we go live. And there we go. We'll catch you another time. Bye for now.